This year of college basketball will be good. We've seen almost every team play the first game already, and most of the elite players are in fact playing for a school, which is really exciting. I'm so hyped for this season. I'll make college basketball videos at least once a month. The YouTube grind is harder than it looks. I'm making videos in classes at school, but here I am nonetheless. Let's get into the top 25. At 25, I got Rutgers. This year doesn't look too promising, but they're going to be so cool next year. Imagine Dylan Harper on that team. That'd be so fire. But as for this year, there's not much excitement. They didn't even make March Madness last year, but Cliff Omoruyi should be fine. I don't know about the guard play though. Next, I got Indiana at 24. Their big duo last year is gone, but they do get Kel'el Ware from the portal. He didn't play much at Oregon last year, but like I just mentioned now, there is a big gap left by Chase Jackson Davis, whereas a good anchor to have. As for the loss of Jalen Hood-Schifino, Xavier Johnson can step up. He's been good in his 5 years at college. If not him, then Mackenzie Mbako. He's 6'8" and a good shooter. Indiana may be cooking this season. Gonzaga got wrecked by UConn last year and look even worse this year. I have them much lower than other rankings as they're a completely new team. They got Ryan and Hart from Creighton, but I don't know who else on this team is good. Watson and Hickman have been on this team for a while, but I haven't done much, so I have little faith in Gonzaga. At 22, I have the Longhorns. Texas replaces Marcus Carr with Max Amos, who has been electric at Oral Roberts in his years there. He was an All-American Automobile mention several times. He's another senior who can carry Texas to a top 10 placement by season's end. Texas has Tyler Hunter as well, and a new head coach who can hopefully last the season. At 21, my Houston Cougars. I shouldn't be this negative on my team, but I can't get over the loss of Tremont Murk. Sasser's been good on Detroit, and Walker's been a lottery pick, but I was hoping Tremont Murk would stay. The Cougars are a real small ball team. That's what cost them last season, as their best perimeter defender guarded the 5. LJ Cryer is supposed to be an upgrade from Mark, but I'm more hopeful for the rest of this team who has looked good as backups. Jawan Roberts is underrated in my opinion. Terrence Arsenault reminds me of Jordan Poole. He can start. Lastly, RIP Reggie Chaney. Real sad loss, he's gone too soon. Before I go into my top 20, I will say some honorable mentions. St. Mary's is consistently good. St. John shall be better than last year. Miami has Nigel Pack and a great coach who destroyed my Cougars last year. Virginia might be good. I want to see how UCLA is still a top team after they lost their 3 best players. And Colorado, who does have the very electric Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva, who people are forgetting about. Quick shout out, Jaden Epps in Georgetown. Heading into my top 20, I got Villanova. They were overhyped last year and didn't even make it past the first round of the NIL tournament. Eric Dixon is good and Justin Moore too, but they weren't good enough to even go positive last year. They're capable of really great upsets, but are undersized and that'll likely hold them back this year as it has in the past years too. I got Illinois next at 20. They're pretty much the same team, led by Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins, of course. They'll add Quincy Guerrier and Amani Hansberry as well. They should be better than last year's team. They're overall really decent. They have size and some shooting, but aren't really anything special. Everyone's expecting Alabama to just suck this year, but I'm not. Nick Pringle was good when he played, and I'm expecting them to take a big leap this year and go from 4 to 15 points a game. I'm also expecting a leap from Riley and Griffin. He's a sophomore now. Chris Parker and Sam Walters are 2 players that they got this year. Alabama was a real big team last year. They were one of the few teams with actual NBA size, and it looks like they're going to run it back. In college, teams with more rebounds usually win, and oddly enough, Alabama usually wins that. Although I hate them, they will be deadly this season. 17 may sound low after the Aztecs were in the national championship just 7 months ago, but they did lose some players. Trammell, who's hurt, and Butler are the only starters returning, and they're pretty good, I'm not going to lie. San Diego State is another good roster, and we've seen them be decent consistently. Jaden Ledee is back also, and he's been their leading scorer at times. San Diego State is usually one of the older teams in college basketball, and this year is no different. Number 16, Baylor. Jalen Bridges is the only starter returning from last year's star-studded team. While they have a lot of bench players returning, they don't necessarily have much experience. LJ Cryer would help, but he's at Houston now, which I mentioned earlier. They got a point guard from the portal, but their real new star is Jacoby Walter. He's a great defender like everyone else on Baylor, but he's not a scorer really, which is what Cryer was for the Bears. Like San Diego State, they have a tough non-conference schedule, and Baylor might be out of the top 25 as early as next week. I just can't count Scott Drew out just yet. Tennessee made a lot of moves and are in a lot of top 10s. However, I'm a little rougher on them, I guess. I don't like them getting docked in the neck. I think they should have just ran it back. Most players from last year are back, including Jonas Aidu. They got freshman JP Estrella, who can start hopefully, as they need a center. And this starting lineup is completely new. Like I said about the transfer, I don't like it, but I understand how some people think they're an elite team despite bad coaching. At 14, I have the Texas A&M Aggies. No big-name freshman came here this year around, as I feel like going to College Station will only hurt your draft chances. Yet, they have built a talented roster who has a lot of experience. Every starter is pretty much a good scorer, and they've added really decent depth to this offseason too. We've seen what Wade Taylor can do, and I'm stoked about Aggie basketball for the first time in a long time. Creighton's one of the more exciting teams to talk about. I love Ryan Kalkbrenner. He stands out so much, it's funny. They made it to the Elite Eight a season ago, but faced harsh transfers from their point guard Ryan Nimhart to their forward Arthur Kaluma. They were so fun to watch, and it's sad they're gone. But Creighton did their best to make up for it, getting Steven Ashworth. Trey Alexander could also have a good year too, as the Blue Jays will need his shot creation. All the way down here, I have Purdue. Zach Edey carried them hard last year, and I think there was a lot of luck into getting their number 1 seed. They were suspected the biggest upset in college basketball postseason history, but look to recover nicely. They have plenty of great shooters, but I don't see them winning the Big Ten. They lack athleticism, and I don't have faith in them come the postseason. At 11 is a team I do have faith in for March Madness, and that's Florida Atlantic. FAU is a team I've seen a lot of people call overrated. People are saying they're ranked high just because they made the Final Four, but they return like 90% of the team, including every starter. Elijah Martin is a real stud, and I wouldn't be surprised when the Owls win 30 games this year again. Getting into the top 10, I have Arizona. The most controversial transfer of the offseason was Caleb Love's move from UNC to the desert. He broke out 2 years ago, and I think he has potential to lead the Wildcats to a Pac-12 championship. And Love will have another great big man to work alongside in Omar Ballo. This duo is great, but it doesn't stop there. Arizona also gets Jalen Bradley from Alabama, who is good as well to replace Kisa, who transferred to West Virginia. Since I talked about Caleb Love so much, I thought I'd put his former team North Carolina next at 9. Love immediately gets replaced by Elliot Cadeau, who will fit in perfectly. Losing Love is a blessing in disguise and opens the door wide for Cadeau, who is a better point guard who doesn't need to take a lot of shots like Love did. Armando Bacot and RJ Davis return as well, of course. Harrison Ingram is someone who comes in as well. They're all great offensively and defensively, so I'm certain the USC will make the tournament, which sounds like a low bar, but after last year's awful season, is it really? Marquette returns 4 starters after OMP got drafted in the first round. They're a really solid team starting Ozo Ihodaro, but I don't know how they'll be top 5. They were really underrated throughout last season, but finished as a 2 seed after game of spike late in the season. Now, they're in a prime position to continue their success. I just don't see it happening though. Every team ahead of my rankings got better, and that's the only reason I'm not putting the Golden Eagles higher. Arkansas might not have gotten better like I just said the next teams will. They got worse, in fact, losing 3 players in the NBA draft, but they're still a top team. They got a couple more freshmen who could be one and dones and fall and blocker, and they got my boy Trayvon Mark, who is a top 5 guard in the SEC, maybe Division 1. He has his own team now and can show that he's an elite 2-way guard. Arkansas's most prominent characteristic is their loaded guard positions, but they're a fast-paced team, as we saw last year, and they're going to be explosive this season. Also, Arkansas finally gets Trayvon Brazil, who didn't get to play last year. He's a big question mark. Up next, I have a team who's not even ranked in the top 20 in the AP poll. At number 6, I have USC. They have the highest upside of any team in the Pac-12 easily, and they don't even have a lows of floor as people are suggesting. They were a 10 seed last year's tournament and get really big additions to this year's team. First, Isaiah Collier. He's got handles, court vision, and he's 6'5", making him the ideal point guard. He's got the vet Kobe Johnson, Buggy Ellis, and Bronny too, making USC a must-watch team. At number 5, I have Connecticut. The defending national champions look to repeat. Stefan Castle brings 3 levels of scoring and real good playmaking for a wing. Next to him is Donovan Clingan, whose return is a pleasant surprise. He's 7'2" and really strong. He's going to start this year, and he's one of the reasons why UConn won the championship last year. Tristan Newton returns too, and they bring in Solomon Ball and many other freshmen who are really good. This is a perfect team almost. I say almost because at number 4 is Michigan State. Adrian Hoggard and Tyson Walker are both back. Hoggard is one of the best creators in college basketball, but I don't know about the combination of him with Walker. Yeah, he's a good shot creator, but there were times last year when they clashed. Walker handled most of the scoring, and he's the real star. Jaden Akins, Mady Sissoko, and Malik Hall return too. They have plenty of depth with the freshmen as well, making this the deepest team in college basketball probably. At 3, I have Kentucky. Now, I know freshmen don't usually win championships in college basketball, but when you have 5 of the best freshmen in college basketball, you're one of the best teams. Justin Edwards is one of the most athletic players in the NCAA this year. DJ Wagner is one of the best scorers potentially, and Robert Dillingham is one of the most creative players. Add 2 more likely NBA first-rounders in Aaron Bradshaw and Reed Shepherd, and this is a super team. Number 2 are the Duke Blue Devils. They may be the most star-studded team with both Kyle Filipowski and Tyrese Proctor returning. Filipowski is a top 5 player in all of college basketball in my opinion. He could have easily been a lottery pick, and he was really good last year, even playing alongside Derek Lively. Proctor is a top 5 guard as well. He shot good in exhibition games and is well-rounded for a collegiate guard. Mark Mitchell returns too. He's been a good big for them. Jeremy Roach is another star returning. Too bad Derek Whitehead couldn't return and chose the draft despite being injured. You got Jared McCain, the freshman, and this may be the best defensive team in college basketball. And Duke is the second best team overall. Because at number 1, don't overthink it. This is the best starting 5 in college basketball. Their biggest move was, of course, diving into the transfer portal and getting Hunter Dickinson, who has been phenomenal for Michigan every year. He's much different from Asbuiki, who they had when they won the championship, and will bring more offense from the center position. Really interested in how Bill Self works with him. He's surrounded by KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris, and Kevin McCullough, who are all great players. I've seen some people be concerned about their depth, but there's no need to be. They also brought in a couple more veterans from the transfer portal, so they're really fine in the Big 12. Not to mention, Marco Jackson gets to make his debut. Everyone will play good as they did last year, at the very least, and Kansas will be the national champions. That's the bottom line. Thank you for watching. See you next week.